Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking? Today, before I get into it too much, is sketch cards. I have a whole slew of sketch cards to do, so I figured I'd spend some time doing them on camera. Pisces Rising Press. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. Yeah, so I have all these sketch cards. Just a quick recap. I'm going to be going live with a crowdfunder on November 22nd, as far as I know. The link is in the description for the YouTube channel, the YouTube video. Yeah, so it's on the 22nd. I'll be doing a launch probably for a couple hours. I got a bunch of stuff for this campaign that I'm pretty excited about. There's a few resin models left, bumper stickers, bookmarks, books, collected trades for issues 1 and 3, original artwork. I have yet to sell any original pages, and this will be the first time I'm doing that. So I'm doing original artwork from issue 1, 2, 3, and 4, one page from each of those, which is pretty exciting. It's hard to let go of that kind of stuff, but I thought this would be a good time to do that. And the other thing too is sketch cards. So I'm offering sketch cards, and I was thinking, so I'll go through a few of these. I'm really liking how these are turning out. I'm a big fan of sketch cards. If anybody's seen me online, they're kind of like, they're a guilty pleasure, but I like to try to cram as much as I can. A lot of people just do, busts or things like that. But what I do is I use them for like concept art. So there'll be whole scenes, basically, multiple characters, new concepts, new characters, new settings, etc., etc. So I'm liking how they're turning out. So what I'm going to do, I think, is if you get a sketch card on the campaign, I'm going to randomly select a person who got one of the sketch cards. And I'll use this for an example. So this is the book bug, and he threw somebody down in the well of Cicero. And what I'll do is I'll blow that up into like a 9x13, something like that, image, and I'll do a finished drawing, and essentially you'll win that. So getting a sketch card, it'll be like sort of entering to win a much larger colored finished piece. So I thought that'd be fun, just because I'm so happy with the way these are turning out. And also these are going to be color. So I have a bunch penciled. I inked, I don't know, I think probably have 12 or 13 that are already inked. I'll go like tonight. This may not look like the most exciting thing to do, but I have to, erase all the pencils. I have to finish the inks, and then I'll do watercolors. Maybe a little Copic markers, we'll see. But I figured I'll do it on camera. So I might as well get into it. I don't think I have anything else going on. I am going to be at a convention on November 16th, 17th. It's SuperCon in DuBois, PA. So if you're in that area, check it out. I think it's like a 6-hour con on a Saturday. I haven't been to it yet, but I grew up in St. Mary's, which is like a half-hour away. So I thought that'd be pretty fun. So I'm going to erase some of these pencils, and then I'll actually get to inking some new cards. But I'll kind of go through all the cards. That way, if you do decide to get one, you know what it is. Because like I said, I use these as sort of like concept art. So there'll be new characters, and I can take those characters and write new stories. And I don't know, to me, that's just a much more interesting use of my time. If I'm going to do these, you want to just make the best use of your time. So I look at it as first of all, you're doing small drawings, which I think as a comic book artist, small drawings are key. I think, there'll be times where 3-panel pages, 4-panel pages are fine. But once you get into like the 8, 9, 10, 12, you can really start to do some interesting things on pages. You can really get into some pacing experimentation. You can get into kind of like real deep storytelling. If you have a 26-page comic book and you're doing like 4 panels a page or something like that, you're going to read that, unless you dump a bunch of text, which some people do. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You're going to read that in 15 minutes and just go about your day. So I think small drawings are really key. So this is a great practice for that. And then just kind of play around with the characters, compositions. It's a great ratio. I know I said this last time, but it is what it is, right? What ink do you use with watercolor? So I tested these two. These are the Winsor Newton pens. I think the biggest thing with that is you just have to wait a long time for it to dry. And also, for the watercolor, you need to be as quick as humanly possible, like you're robbing a bank, right? Like just a light touch, get in there as quick as possible with as little water as possible, and then step back. And then I always do essentially 2 layers for watercolor. So that first layer, actually I don't have any with me right now. I sold the last ones that I did, but you do 1 layer, which is like a wash, real quick layer. And then at least for this cardstock, which is pretty sturdy, it'll take a wash and then a little bit of like detail, second level sort of painting. So that's what I do. It's tricky. I'm not saying you might not ruin, an odd drawing here or there, but that's also why I'm doing like 20 of these things. So if I get to that point and I mess it up, that's not the end of the world. All right, so we had the book bug, and somebody's kind of in the well of souls. This is the Loquat or Loquatian, and Horace seems to be regaling him with a story of some sort. Coco Shuko Papa Shango. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for popping in again. Aquapen. Yeah, there's a few different things that I would like to try eventually. I don't know if I'll try it on these cards, just because I have a bit of a process down. I mean, I've even considered maybe doing a little gouache or acrylic, but to be completely honest, if I would do that, I would just cut a piece of real watercolor paper this size. Why put yourself through the torture of trying to do multimedia on something that's really not supposed to take it? So that's what I might do. I actually love miniature painting. I don't mean miniatures as in the little characters. I mean tiny, tiny little portraits and oil paintings and things like that. I love that kind of stuff. I've considered doing that for other things. Just doing tiny little, like a triptych or something. Now, the thing about, again, this cardstock is it's pretty thick. It doesn't take a lot of erasing. So you kind of got to nail the drawing the first time. You might have like one good erasing in it, and then after that, you're kind of stuck with it. So there's some good and bad. So this is one I did last night. Again, so this would be perfect example of concept art for me. You have Horace kind of entering this cave with a light, and there's a bat monster thing, and it's like, this is where I just let shapes kind of take shape, so to speak. I just create with shapes. And then out of those shapes comes a monster, a character, something like that. And then I'm like, okay, that looks like a weird demon monk, or that looks like et cetera, right? So that's kind of how I play around with it. And it's like, you're only spending, whenever you're drawing, like if you're sketching on these little sketch cards, you're only wasting 5 minutes. If it doesn't turn out, it's fine. If you do like the sketch, okay, then you ink it and watercolor it, and you might spend a half hour or 45 minutes on it. But keep the risk reward in balance. If you're just going to play around with stuff, make it small, because it might not turn out. If I had done this with like a 8.5 by 11 or 11 by 17, I might be 25 minutes into it before I realize, I'm like, you know what, this character doesn't work, the composition doesn't work, whatever the case may be. So these are just like thumbnails, basically. Thumbnails that you get to finish and refine. I have a lot of these. I liked this guy. So another perfect example. This is sort of like a big chicken man with goggles. I had an idea, like when I first sat down and was kind of playing around with Horace H. Hoover, like the universe, the concept, all that kind of stuff. One of the first drawings I did was like Horace's nemesis was this, essentially a bird chicken that wore like, bomber pants and had goggles, and I kind of saw him as his nemesis. So sort of like to Indiana Jones and Bullock, Belloc. This kind of back and forth. Every time Horace would go and track down some ancient book, this chicken bird guy would be there and thwart him. So I played around with that concept, and it is something I might use in the future. But I thought this was just a fun little drawing. He's just grabbing Horace by the head, and I did my best chicken coop in the back. It doesn't really look like a chicken coop, but so yeah, see what I mean about like covers? This is a pretty great concept for a cover. Maybe it's not the final art, but from here you'd be like, okay, I know I'm going to have Horace, I know I'm going to have Chicken Man, and I'm going to have a chicken coop and something else in there. And then just imagine like a tagline. Watching me erase is kind of the exact opposite of an art stream, isn't it? This is an unart stream. I'm actually destroying art by erasing it. Interesting. I should retitle this. I'm just going to do this for a few, and then I'll get back to inking, though, I swear. I am very excited about Frankenstein. Comes out tomorrow. It's one of my all-time favorite books. Don't really like any of the movies. They're just they're barely okay in my book. They're okay. But it sounds like Del Toro is really going to deliver on something that is, it doesn't have to be, book accurate. I know people get hung up on that. I do to some degree, but I'm not going to, as long as it's good and it's clever and it's visually interesting, whether or not they do a particular scene or leave out a character or give somebody else a piece of dialogue, I'm not going to care. I just want just a great version of Frankenstein that I can watch, finally. Besides the young Frankenstein, that is. So this is obviously Horace, and I kind of pictured him kind of coming down into like a basement or a fruit cellar or something. That's a weird name, fruit cellar. I know that's where they kept fruit. Still strange. With just, I don't know, something growing. Again, it's pretty good composition. I like this composition. This would work well as maybe a cover. I'd have to tweak it to make it a cover, but a splash or a poster or a card or something, for sure. Here's another one that I really liked. This was different. It's very action-oriented. You have Horace holding back this monster. Again, the monster is just playing with shapes, kind of finding the monster in the shapes, and then just kind of going from there. And if I really like it, I might do something with it. But this is another potential cover. So all of these ones that I'm showing, one of them would get blown up, and then whoever purchased that particular sketch card. Now the sketch cards are going to be random, so unfortunately you're just going to get a sketch card, but I'll be selecting randomly as well. So you could have the sketch card, and then I blow it up and send you the original artwork. And it'll probably be used for a poster or trading card, something like that. Yeah, this one turned out really well. You got the sort of energy lines and the motion lines. You definitely feel the force of this thing coming at Horace. All right, I'll erase one more, and then I'll start inking. And if you just came in, this is the unart stream where I'm undoing art by erasing it. The other reason that I'd like to use these as concept art is because you can get a little stale, and you can kind of get a little in a rut. Like, for example, I don't want to have everybody just fighting tentacle monsters, right? Or some sort of amorphous blob type thing, which you can do, and I'm doing it, right? But I don't want to do that for all 20 cards. I think that would just be boring. So you have to introduce new things. If not, you're just going to be repeating yourself. So we got Max here fighting a graboid. If there are any Tremors fans. I'm so happy that that thing actually became a cult classic. I remember watching it when it came out and absolutely loving that movie. It was funny. It was great. Um, and then years later, like you run into somebody and they know Tremors, and you're like, oh, we're on the same page then. Okay. All right. Good enough. So we got a book bug. And again, I'm not doing a lot of gray, a lot of hatching because it's gonna be a lot of watercolor. This guy, we got Horace in the fruit cellar. Horace and his nemesis. Horace finding I don't know. I still don't know about that. This is sort of like Horace comes upon a ghoul. I have to do some more shadow work there because it's a little hard to see what's going on there. Then Horace and the Loquatian telling a story. Alrighty. So these are all of the other sketch cards that I have. And you can see they're pretty loose. It's hard to see sometimes with the lighting, but they're pretty loose. The sketches don't take long, but I have a lot to make up. So in this sketch card, what's going on? Well, Horace is fighting a group of things, people we don't know. He's holding what looks to be like a sword, and then this is where I'm like, well, as of yet, Horace, he hasn't used a sword. He hasn't used a sword. Am I going to give him a sword, or is it going to be a twist on a sword? Is it like some sort of electronic stick that has a light bulb and gears on it? I don't know, but that's kind of how my brain works. And I think it's almost like a cheat code. Just start with some shapes and then backfill it in. I have no music on. I don't know if people hate music or not. I'm going to put a little music on. You know if that's too loud or not. So out of these, I'm going to do. This looks pretty standard. We have Horace fighting a monster. But again, specifics are in the inking. I honestly don't know what I'm doing. It could end up not working out, but I haven't invested hours and hours and hours into it at this point, so that's fine. So something that always I was never a huge fan of is regarding Lovecraft stuff. There's kind of like this approach of giant bugs, which I don't really like. To me, they like giant bugs aren't really creepy or scary. They can be maybe unnerving, not really more than that. So anytime doing like monsters, in the back of my head, I am thinking, okay, stay away from this trope or this cliche, or sometimes I'm leaning into it 100%, but it is something I'm thinking about. And I never liked the bug, the idea of they look like bugs, basically. Or plants. And I know, I'm committing heresy, but half plant, half animal, vegetable, whatever. It's curious, it's interesting. It can be like fascinating whenever you talk about this alien race of half vegetable animal, the culture and the history and all that kind of stuff. That can be interesting, but it doesn't elicit any like emotion from me outside of that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. These plant bug animal things, they had a war with these other plant bug things. And so, but I will say this, there are, I don't know, millions of comic books made every year. There have been millions. I don't know how you come up with something that has never been done before. You can't. I mean, you obviously can't keep up with that stuff anyway. So you have your own little area of expertise on the genres that you like and the sort of like what's popular in monsters, and kind of go from there. But yeah, the last thing I would ever do is like come up with an idea and then Google it. I'm like, that doesn't benefit you. And, unless you actually feel like you're stealing something, which you can do it unbeknownst to you, that's a thing for sure. You're scrolling on Pinterest or something, and you see an image and you don't think anything of it, but then the next time you sit down to do some concept art, you don't realize that you're actually drawing that thing that you saw on Pinterest. I play guitar, and I remember this one time, this was years ago, and I'm sitting in my living room just playing. I'm like, I need to write like a new song. It's been a long time since I wrote a new song. And I spent, I don't know, a couple of hours. I'm like, this is great. It's like catchy and this and that. And I'm not joking. There might even be like a sitcom or a bit about this. It was a pharmaceutical like jingle that I had rewritten. It just gets in your brain, and then you sit down and I'm like, I don't remember what drug it was, but I'm like, that sucks. But that does happen. Hopefully you catch it before you have a whole album of like pharmaceutical drug jingles. And you're like, look, this is the best pop album ever. People are going to love it. They won't know why. So clearly this is like a undead, maybe undead, I don't know. Humanoid. That's the other thing too, people may notice, is I'm much more likely to do humanoid monsters. Just Just way more interesting to me. Now, something I normally don't do a lot is speed lines. I do it sometimes. It's kind of a lost art. And I think for the worse. I think speed lines really captured something else. But what are you gonna do? So I'm currently finishing up the trailer for Horace H. Hoover. Well, really for the Kickstarter. On my YouTube channel, there is the trailer, the original from might be 2 years old at this point, and it was good. I enjoyed doing it. It was maybe not as descriptive as I would have liked, and I think for this version, I corrected that. When people watch this trailer, I want them to really get a sense of not just the issue that I'm currently working on or anything like that, but the whole comic, the whole concept of it, and any future thing I do. I think it really does a good job of summarizing that, along with where we're at. So it starts off with a loquacious detective meets a girl with a problem ghost. But it kind of goes high level too, as far as, what is he doing? What kind of stuff does Horace fight? And what to expect? So whenever the Kickstarter launches, actually, I might actually have the trailer before the Kickstarter. That way I can kind of throw it around social media a bit. The other thing too is coming up with monsters. There's a couple of body types and shapes that you can start with, but those run out pretty quick. For Horace, he's thin, he's taller. So the first sort of bad guy I put him up against was a big fat guy. You always, at minimum, you want to kind of invert the hero. So he's a big fat guy with a tiny head. Horace is a tall, skinny guy with a giant head. Yang Yang Chow, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. I've been thinking about our Lovecraft chat for a while now. It was a lot of fun, and I would love to do that again. Maybe even I don't know, get into really deep into one story. Because hearing other people's thoughts is kind of interesting, and also it struck me that some of those stories I hadn't read in a very, very long time. So am I remembering them correctly? Some people take different things out of them. So that was a lot of fun. Let's do Conan stories next year. Oh man, that'd be great. Yeah, let's do that. That would force me to read some that I haven't. I haven't read many. I just like, talking, I don't say non-comics, but talking about other things besides just comics. It's all related, but so this is sort of like a gangly something creature. I don't think undead, just unstable on his feet. Hey, Dr. Mask, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. I saw the interview you did on Indie Comics Relay. It was great. I'm so happy to see that your book is going to be out soon. It was a lot of fun to do. The trailer looks great. Yeah, the other thing too about these sketch cards, not to go on and on about them, is like, let's say you have something that you need to work on, and hopefully if you're an artist, that list is like absolutely like at the forefront of your brain, right? Like for me, I need to work on my trees and clouds. Trees and clouds, I have a hard time with them. So, the next time I get a break, I'm going to basically sit down, draw a bunch of trees and a bunch of clouds. But anyway, with these like little sketch cards, it's like, you know what? I need to add more like blacks in my artwork. Like do it in a sketch card. I mean, what better place to play around with it? Hey, Michael Bancroft, how's it going? Yeah, I'm excited for you to read it. Hopefully you like it. I take criticism very, very well, though. I think it's inevitable that each issue is better. The first issue you're struggling with, can I do a comic? Can I have multiple characters in a location and tell a story? And then for me, the second issue is like, okay, I feel like I have a little bit of footing on that. Let's take it to bigger locations and see if I can kind of blow that up. And then the third issue is pacing. So it's interesting for me to see each issue progress. And I think with issue 4 for me, I feel like it's my first real comic that I'm happy that I hit sort of all the topics that I've been wanting to, like pacing with panels, action versus dialogue, like all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I can't wait to see your review. Dr. Mask, are you going to make a set of Christmas Carol cards? I would be all over that. Man, it's funny you mention that. So I did this card. I just found these the other day. You can get these printed or whatever from whatever. So this is Jacob Marley, and I've done like 3D. I've done a resin model, and I sent it. This was like years later. So I put, "Don't be like Scrooge. He was a quitter, Jacob Marley." I would love to do a Christmas Carol set. We'll see. I want to do like big illustration, Bernie Wrightson style stuff. That's such a high bar, but you never know. I definitely have a lot of things planned after issue 4 is printed and published and the crowdfunder's done. Doing some oil painting, some book binding, basically anything that isn't in front of a screen. My day job is a programmer for the past many, many, many years. When I come home, it's like I'm doing a comic book, and a portion of that is traditional, like pencils and inks, but I write, I color, I letter, branding, animation, publishing. It's a lot on the computer, and it would be nice just take a break, just do some oil painting, do some other non-computer related stuff. But we'll see. Hey, Gollum Wolf, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. It's been a while since we did an art stream. All right, so I'm gonna let this guy go. I might come back to it. We'll see. This will be colored like the other ones, but all right. My giant stack of sketch cards. Let's see here. So we have some sort of wizard, magical something, voodoo, and tangling up Horus and something. Are those tentacles? Are those vines? Are those... I don't know what those are. So for this, I just pictured Horus with like a spear through his helmet. He's kind of reaching out, and then behind him is like this weird... I don't want to call him an evil Cupid, but something like that. I just thought it would be funny. Again, if this turns into a story, who knows, but it's worth exploring. This is Horus. You know, I do have another image of this where he takes books and he uses his, we'll call it engineering skills, to extract information from the book using mechanical means. I know that sounds strange, but we'll get to it eventually. So he's basically plugging things into the book and, you know, essentially using the book as a piece of a machine. We have Horus fending off some, I don't know, are they monsters? Are they people? Are they cultists? I don't know about that. We just have the group, which I figured I at least needed one group shot. And then we have Max just kind of chilling in front of a stoop. All right, so I will do... I'll do this one. All the things I sort of have planned after issue 4. One is just like an in-depth, I don't want to call it a study guide, but I'm going to take my favorite artists and I'm just going to spend a couple of weeks kind of doing deep dives into styles. For a bunch of reasons. There's some obvious reasons, but once you get to a certain point, so I've probably drawn at this point 140 pages for Horace H. Hoover. I've done other stuff, not that much other stuff. It's been a long time, but we'll say 140 pages of Horace H. Hoover stuff. You come up with shorthand, right? That's mostly comics. Is eventually you come up with shorthand for hands and feet and facial expressions and all that kind of stuff. Now that I have that sort of visual dictionary in my head, I want to compare that to John Buscema or Rick Leonardi or Silvestri or somebody. Just kind of like go down the list. Okay, so this is how they draw hands. This is how they draw eyes and noses and mouths. Just because I think I have better context now. I think before, when I was looking at those artists, it didn't stick as much because I hadn't drawn actual comic pages. I didn't have, and it wasn't just one comic page. I hadn't drawn issue after issue. And I think once you get to that point, you kind of understand it a little better. So we'll see if that is fruitful or not, but that's the plan. Now this guy back here, like you can see how tiny that is. This is ludicrously tiny. So this is a 0.5. I will go down to like a 0.005 or something. Or 0.05, I should say. And we'll see. Again, I refuse to get reading glasses. I refuse. I'm going to go down with the ship. And by the ship, I mean my body. I've said this before. Like glasses are welfare for your eyes, right? And I think that once you give your eyes welfare, I think you're done. Your eyes are like, okay, where's my assisted viewing, please? Michael Bancroft, I have a really good feeling about it. The art, at the very least, looks fantastic. Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say. Oops, these are out of order, sorry. Dr. Mask, I just shared the cards you drew that I have on X. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've scanned in all the cards that I've ever done just because some of them I really like them. I'm not saying other people don't put a lot into their sketch cards, but I'm just saying it's something I really enjoy, so I tend to put a lot into them. Gollum Wolf, do you prefer the Winsor Newton brand over the Microns? I go back and forth. I have a bunch of Microns. I have a bunch of Winsor Newton. The Winsor Newtons are, this isn't going to make any sense, softer. Doesn't really mean anything. But if I had to describe them, they're softer. I don't know if that means I have to press less to get ink. I don't know. You and Frankie B put the most into a sketch card that I've ever seen. Thank you. Yeah, Frankie B is he does great sketch cards. I just saw he posted a video on X. I think he's working on number 9 of Kaijus and Cowboys, which he really cranked those out. I swear it's been like maybe 2 years. To do 9 issues that's extraordinary. I would be dead if I had done that. There's no chance. So the answer is yes, it is tentacles. It's funny because we all have like something that we just don't get sick of. I think everybody has that. Somebody can watch every single spin-off of The Walking Dead, like every zombie version, and it's just, they'll just eat it up every time. For me, it is vampires. I've said this before, like, I watch every single vampire. Like, it can be the worst version of vampires. I still love it. Always have. I'm admitting this on air. Even like the teen vampire shows on Netflix, and I'm blanking on the names of them, like Vampire Diaries or something. Like, I put them on in the background, admittedly, but I still watch them. Yeah, So for me, tentacles is one of them. Vampires is another. I have been trying to reverse my eyeglass dependency. Apparently, you can reverse some of that by watching sunsets and sunrises or using some kind of light. Really? I've never heard of that. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I was just like avoiding reality, but the fact that you can maybe reverse some of it, that's great. Hey, Justin, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. It's always tentacles, except for when it isn't. For you, or just for me? Are you saying that I am tentacle addicted, and that I might need like a tentacle intervention? I might need a tentacle intervention. I don't know. I definitely need a vampire intervention. Now, I will say this: I still haven't seen Twilight. That's like the only vampire like movie that I haven't seen. I even read like the Anne Rice books, which I really, really disliked. Did you see the new Salem's Lot? I did. It was not bad. People really hated it. I wish it was longer. A movie length Salem's Lot, I definitely feel like doesn't give it enough time to build. But that being said, there were some cool scenes, some cool images. I will never say no to a vampire. And you would think I'd be goth or something, like wearing red velour and all that kind of stuff, but I stopped using glasses 15 years ago, got my eyesight back quite quickly. Seriously? So my theory is there's something to my theory? Yes. Yeah. I highly recommend this series of books if nobody's ever read them. It's called the Necroscope series. This got me hooked on vampires. I was very young when I read them, and I mention it all the time just because they've been a huge influence on my art, on just storytelling, everything. The Necroscope series by Brian Lumley. And if you Google Necroscope covers, the artwork is fantastic. It's done by an artist called Bob Eggleton, and he's pretty famous. I own 3 original oil paintings from Bob Eggleton, and they're fantastic. So if you come to my house, they're hanging up. So you'll be in my living room. You'll look up and you'll see like a skull with tentacles, but hey, it's fantastic stuff. I wasn't a fan of the new Salem's Lot. It seemed like the kid was the smartest human on earth and everyone else was an idiot. I don't know if I remember it that well. It was just one of those things. I saw it and I didn't really mull it over. I remember thinking it was okay though. But again, I've watched the Vampire Diaries. Velour in today's economy. That is true. Yeah, maybe that's the only thing keeping me from being goth is just the velour markup, basically. I just had an image of like this factory in Indonesia and a vampire basically just walking around in a sweatshop, just demanding they crank out more velour to send to these goth nightclubs to essentially inculcate these people into the vampire culture. And usually if I think it's true. That's how I like to approach life. Like if I imagine a scenario, it's like 80% that it's actually true. So I think that somebody should look into that. I just saw Return of the Vampire, 1943 for the first time this year. Really enjoyed it. I don't know that one. Return of the Vampire. I'll have to check it out. Now, after all of that about vampires and liking all the vampire stories. I'm also going to admit I did not like Nosferatu, the remake. The original is perfection, of course. Yeah, I didn't like the new Nosferatu. I thought it was a little too one note tonally. And because of that, I didn't feel, I don't know. It wasn't that there was rising tension. It was just all one sort of feeling. So I wasn't a huge fan. Bela Lugosi. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Same thing happened with Vampire Diaries as so many others. Eventually, everyone becomes a vampire, which gets super lame. Yes, that, or they have to introduce werewolves and witches, and then it's like it really follows like these cliches of the warring this and that. But it is interesting. Some people just gravitate towards zombies, some vampires, some tentacles. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to announce. Probably not. Just that convention on the 7th in DuBois, PA. And then my Kickstarter, hopefully on the 22nd. And then I buy my first yacht on, I'm assuming, like 40 days later. Like my first 60-foot yacht from my crowdfunder. I thought the new Nosferatu was okay. My 23-year-old nephew and his friend loved it. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay. I will say this, Nosferatu does suffer from the same thing that like Batman and Spider-Man, like I know the story so well. I've read the book countless times. I've watched adaptations of the book countless times. It's kind of hard to watch that story one more time for me. I had just read the book, I don't know, 6 months before. So it's like, it's like if we had to watch the Batman origin just over and over again, just the origin, or the Spider-Man origin. It's like, please, I never need to see it again. I don't need to know. Like, I just don't need to see it. Yeah, the first Nosferatu, I mean, it's all that German expressionism stuff is amazing. I went to see that on the big screen with a live orchestra. It was called the Alloy Orchestra, and they did period-specific instruments for Nosferatu, which was really cool. Like, there was a part in the movie where I'm like, what is that noise? Like, I couldn't place it, and a guy was playing the saw because they used to play the saw back then. So it was like a live performance on the big screen, Nosferatu, just perfect. Side note, if you've never seen Shadow of the Vampire, highly recommend that. It's like a fictional making of Nosferatu. If I leave you with anything today, it's that eyeglasses are eye welfare, and please watch Shadow of the Vampire. Brandon Sanderson has raised over 60 million. That's nuts. If I can come in at 50, that's not too shabby. Oh, that's cool, Metropolis. Yeah, I would love to see that on a big screen. There's a theater that opened near me recently, and they play old movies. And we just went to go see Psycho last week, which was pretty cool. I'm not a huge Psycho fan. It's a good movie. But it's also, again, one of those movies where you know the story so well that it's just hard to it doesn't elicit the same response that you did the first time or the second or the third, you know. So it's not the movie's fault. Alrighty, I'm at an hour. Usually I call it quits. I will call it quits here in a few minutes. Willem Dafoe, yes. Oh man, he was so good in that. Shadow of the Vampire. I need to rewatch it. I saw it when it came out. 90s, right? Mid 90s or something. So good. You can get a 60-foot yacht for cheap, only a couple million. I'm set then. I just have to sell, I don't know, 400,000 resin model kits, and I'm good. But I am excited about the Kickstarter. This is my first one that I've done. You know, the last issue I just published, I just kind of put it out there, which wasn't super fun. It was okay. Like, I think having a crowdfunder is just more fun. People get into it. You got the stretch goals, all of that jazz. I'm kind of just fiddling with this now, which I really hate it when I do that. So I'm just going to let this go. Start selling HHH full head masks. I had considered a while back, like fabricating like a helmet, to do it, to wear at conventions. Or not me, to have somebody wear. I mapped it out. I designed it. Man, it's a difficult thing to pull off. I was thinking I could do some of it 3D printed. Some of it would have to be like legit fabricated. But the way it would have to sit is like on your chin, which is, it's very, very difficult. So I have a design for it, but that's as far as I got. I am launching November 22nd. Just a heads up, there are only like 5 of these guys left, painted. And they will be on the Kickstarter. And then I have some unpainted. I think I have like 10 unpainted. But the way it worked out, I will not be able to do another print run of those. So that'll be it for the foreseeable future. So if you are interested in the resin model stuff, I would get it on the Kickstarter, because I don't know if I'll ever be able to do another run. We'll see. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll have to check to see where I assume you're just going to do it on yours, or I don't know. Yeah, maybe after you launch, you can come on the channel. We can chat about it and kind of look through it. Thank you. Yeah, it was one of my favorites. This guy. It was a second sculpture that I did for Horus. I had to make it like the original sculpture for Horus is so detailed that it's 55 pieces, something like that. Some insane number of pieces. I think you can see it in the background somewhere. So for this little guy, I'm like, I need to simplify this model somehow. So I just simplified and simplified, like you do in art, like drawing, right? You just got to simplify it to get it down to like 8 pieces or something like that. But anyway, all right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate everybody in chat popping in. I still have a stack of cards to do. I will be coloring them, watercoloring them sometime, maybe over the weekend at least. I'll keep everybody posted on the Kickstarter, and hope everybody has a good night. Thanks again, everybody. Bye.